It's totally fine. I have a lot more stories.
That you do.
Yeah.
That you do.
Guilty as charged with the stories.
Hey, everybody, welcome once again to I've Got Something to Say. The I in that title is me, and what I've got to say is what's going to come out of my mouth here. This week's episode is entitled, Bad Boy, What You Gonna Do? I was born apparently hardwired to be a good boy. And there was something inside of me, even at a very young age, that felt like if I wasn't perfect, if I got in trouble, then there was no recovering from that. And game off, you're a bad person forever because you've been bad once. And so I had this sort of ridiculous, this ridiculous need to be good all the time, and a horrible fear and anxiety around if I wasn't. And I'll highlight it by a little pre-story to the story I'm going to tell today. The pre-story is this. In kindergarten, I was in the hallway, and we were in line, as you do in grade school, and I was turning around and talking to one of the children behind me, and Mrs. Edwards, not my teacher, who was Mrs. Jones, but Mrs. Edwards, she was the bigger of the two, and she turned around and goes, "Chris, shh." I was mortified. She didn't even yell. It was seriously just a, "Chris, shh." I didn't take it as, oh, yeah, you know what, thanks for the reminder, I should be quiet. Or even, how dare you tell me, I'll tell you when to be quiet. Instead, it was, oh my God, I can't believe I got shushed. I can't believe I got in trouble. I'm going to hell. It's over. I'm going to hell. And I am not exaggerating. There's no hyperbole in this. At 5 years old in kindergarten, I seriously thought that I was going to go to hell because I got shushed in the hallway. Now, I don't know where that came from, why I felt that way. And I remember going home and I gotta tell my parents what happened. And I was a nervous wreck. And finally, I think my mom was reading me a story that night before bed. And I was like, Mom, I got to tell you something. Mrs. Edwards told me to be quiet in the hallway today. And she's like, yeah, and? I'm going to hell. I mean, I guess it's a long way of saying I got a screwed up anxious brain, and it started from a very young age. And so what's interesting is I'll go to something one of my therapists told me one time. Imagine a pendulum, if you will, and where you want to be in any particular emotion or anything in life is where the pendulum is down in the middle. That's called homeostasis. So if the pendulum is all the way up on one side, so imagine you've got like a big ball hanging from a string, and it's pulled all the way up on one side, that's unhealthy. And that's where my getting in trouble brain was like, oh my gosh, I'm bad. I've got to be good. I can't go to hell. I've got to do everything I can to be good and not make anybody mad. That's not sustainable. So what happens is the pendulum doesn't just swing down to the middle where it's healthy. It swings all the way to the other end. And so the opposite of, oh my gosh, I want to be a good boy. I can't get in trouble. I can't be bad. When the pendulum leaves that position and swings all the way over to the other side, that turns into, oh my gosh, I want to piss everybody off, and I want to be an asshole, and I want to make people mad and get their reactions. And so I've had this thing in life where what was that, Paul?
Does it maybe have you tell dirty jokes?
Maybe it has you tell dirty jokes or say untoward words or use a vernacular that would not be pleasing to maybe the people that you grew up with or people in your church family. And so that's been me for a good portion of my life. On one side, oh my gosh, I'm a bad guy, and then swinging over to, oh, I really want to irritate these people, and gosh, I want to be a smart ass and make people upset. Neither one of those are healthy. The healthy option is to be in the middle where you take responsibility for your own actions. If you feel like you've intentionally hurt someone or pissed them off, you apologize. If you feel like somebody else is being crazy, you let it go and move on with your life. So I would like to spend the remainder of my life in the homeostasis position. And I feel like I've gotten better. But throughout my life, there are stories of, oh, I'm the bad boy, I'm so scared. And then, oh, I'm the asshole and I'm pissing people off. So the story I want to tell today is one of those of, oh my God, I'm the bad boy and I'm so scared. This was a few years after my kindergarten experience. I want to say, and Paul, please chime in because you're part of this story.
Thank you, Chris.
I'm airing your dirty laundry as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've got something to say.
Yes, we do. So this would have been, I'm not sure if it was junior year or senior year of high school. Do you remember? You and I decided that we were going to skip school and go to lunch. And it's not like we went anywhere cool for lunch, but I do remember, I believe we came to your house for the lunch. It was either yours or Brendan's house. And I think we had a baked potato with SpaghettiOs on top of it. Does that ring a bell? Yes. Was it your house or Brendan's? Yeah, we'll say it was your house. But you, me, and Brendan, the senior class president, the student body president, the editor of the paper, all good kids, decided to leave and skip lunch for one day in high school. That was the only day I ever skipped lunch. Did you ever skip more than that?
No.
Yeah.
Never.
So you and I were being really scandalous. Mm-hmm. We're going to skip out of school. The whole time I've got this nervousness in the pit of my stomach, like, oh my God, we're going to get caught. I'm not going to be able to graduate high school. Like, my mind always would go to just the most extreme position, the worst that could ever happen. But we enjoy our SpaghettiO spuds, and as I recall, they were delicious. And then we're coming back to school, and we only had like 17 minutes for lunch or something, but we made it in time. And I remember we parked, and I thought, okay, we're back. This is good. We're going to get back in school. And as we're walking across the parking lot, I distinctly remember seeing Mr. Price, who was one of the assistant principals. And he's like, hey, you kids, get over here. And we just run into the school. I don't remember where you were because I was apparently not of the mindset of we leave no one behind. I was of the mindset of I got to get my ass in this school. Good luck to Paul and Brendan. And I ran through one of the shop classes. Were you? Yes. So we ran through the shop class, and I went through the back door that came out to the parking lot. And I remember the teacher looking at us like, what's going on here? And I spent the rest of that day just waiting for Mr. Price to come to whatever class I was in the rest of the day, drag me down, kick me out of school forever, put a mark on my permanent record, keep me from getting a professional job. And I went home that night, and I thought, oh, man, there's no way I can survive this. There's no way out of this. I've been caught. You know, he saw... a 5'11" white male at Truman High School tried to sneak in. He's going to know it was me. So this is the embarrassing part. So about 2:00 in the morning, as I can't sleep because I'm all nervous, guess what I do, Paul? I go and get my mommy. And I'm like, Mom, I got to tell you something. I mean, I'm just reliving the kindergarten thing all over again. Like, Paul and I skipped lunch. I don't know why we did it. It was his idea. I didn't want to do it. I tried to stop him. And Mr. Price saw us, and I know that I'm not going to be able to go to prom, and he's going to take away my class presidency, and everything's going to be awful. And she's like, Chris, it's going to be okay. If you get in trouble and you have to serve a detention, okay, you do it. That's fine. It's going to be all right. It was kind of like, just chill the hell out. Good God. Turns out we didn't get caught at all. So all of my worrying, and this is a life lesson for me, okay? Here I am doing self-therapy. Quit worrying about stuff so much. You always think it's going to be the worst in the world, and it never is. So I guess, the whole point of this story is for me in my podcast to remind me to stay in homeostasis. You don't got to be the best guy in the world, and you don't got to piss people off. Just chill the hell out. Well, that does it for this edition of I've Got Something to Say. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. Always appreciate all you loyal listeners listening and all the feedback I'm always getting. Want to give big thanks and big ups to my good buddy Paul and the folks here at KCTK Radio. You would not be getting this podcast if it weren't for Paul and his organization here. Check out all their fine content, and I'll talk to you next time.